We live in an age of peril. We live in an age of peril for the United States. We live in an age of peril for the traditional individual civil rights of law-abiding American citizens. One of the aspects, one of the indications of this age of peril is the fact that the President has asked the United States Senate to ratify a treaty, the ratification of which would undermine the rights of American citizens and the sovereignty of the United States of America. The President has asked the Senate to ratify a convention on the manufacturing and trading of firearms and ammunition, which it calls illicit manufacturing and trafficking. This treaty, this convention, if adopted, would transfer to the convention itself the determination of what constitutes illicit manufacturing and illicit trafficking. In other words, the treaty would allow the determination of what constitutes illegitimacy to be determined not by the United States itself, but by an international convention to which the United States would become a part. In other words, this transfer of sovereignty of the United States to this convention would enable the convention to undermine the individual, traditional, civil right of law-abiding American citizens to keep and bear arms under the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. Now, this is a right which was declared an individual right just last year by the United States Supreme Court. For many, many years, people who are against the interests of law-abiding citizen gun owners in the United States have been frustrated in their attempts to impose restrictive gun control on the law-abiding citizens of the United States because of the strength within the United States, the great numbers of people in the United States who own firearms. According to most estimates, there are between 90 and 100 million gun owners in the United States. According to national reports, these citizens for the last several months, or citizens of the United States, have been buying about 1.5 million guns every single month. The gun grabbers, the people who oppose the rights of American citizens, frustrated in their attempts to promote legislation which would undermine the rights of American citizens, now have hit upon a new gimmick. And that is a treaty to which the United States would become a part, which would in effect undermine the laws of the United States and transfer to a certain extent the law-making party, the law-making power of the United States from the hands of the United States citizens and their representatives in Congress to an international body which would promulgate what it considers, not what Americans consider, but what it considers what should be done with regard to the manufacturing and trading in firearms in the United States. The promulgation of this treaty, the promotion of this treaty, is really an attempt to do an end run around the United States, around their representatives in Congress. And it is done really because the promoters of this nefarious kind of idea really realize that they cannot get such legislation through the ordinary channels of legislation in the United States. American citizens really oppose this attempt to impinge upon their freedom, to undermine the sovereignty of the United States itself in order to undermine the rights of American citizens themselves. Make no mistake about it. This treaty, this convention, is an attack on the rights of American citizens. It is an attack on the sovereignty of the United States as a nation itself. The American people have got to become aware of the dangers in this treaty. In turn, the American people have got to let their United States senators know that they will not tolerate an approval of this treaty. Now, it takes 2/3 of the United States Senate to ratify this treaty. If Americans become aware of the infringement on their freedom, which this treaty proposes, they will let their senators know in no uncertain terms that they will not tolerate a vote for this treaty. This treaty must be opposed. Americans who love freedom, Americans who believe in the right to keep and bear arms, Americans who believe in traditional American sovereignty, Americans who do not want their rights transferred overseas or out of the country, must let their senators know that they will not tolerate this attempt to infringe upon their rights. Americans have only to let their United States senators know that they oppose this treaty, that they oppose any attempts to infringe upon their rights as law-abiding American citizens, that they oppose attempts to undermine the manufacture and distribution of firearms by legitimate industries and manufacturers and retailers in the United States, that they will not tolerate this activity on the part of the government. It is time for Americans to wake up. It is time for Americans to stand up and to let their government know that their government is the servant of the people, that the people are the rulers of the government, that the government of the United States is not the United States, that the people of the United States are the United States, that the government of the United States is a servant of the people of the United States, and that the government of the United States must not do something that will undermine the interests of the people of the United States. It is up to the people to let the government know, in this case their United States senators, that they will not tolerate an infringement on their rights as American citizens.